Hey, how's it going, everybody? We're on number 8 here, episode 8. Been a while. Just been busy with life and Christmas and all that other crap. So, yeah, I got today Bryant and my brother. How you guys doing?
Awesome.
I am doing very good.
Well, that's...
I am very swell.
I am a robot. Well, that's pretty sweet. So, what games are you guys playing? It's been a while, so I imagine we're not playing like Borderlands and whatnot anymore.
Well, I would be playing Borderlands, but I mean, after you beat the game with pretty much everybody, you know, there's not a whole lot that you can do on there. So, it's just one of those games where, unfortunately, you beat it, you've seen the story, you've played as each of the characters. What more do you want to do on there, you know?
That's true. That's true. So what are you playing right now, then?
I was kind of exploring around a bit with the PlayStation TV, kind of seeing how games looked on there, and I really liked how the PS1 games, like, you could sit there and activate for analog sticks.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'd sit there and I'd booted up Final Fantasy VII, and of course, like, I had one of my saves on there for like 80 hours, and I was looking at the settings, and all of a sudden it was like, wait, I can actually use an analog stick? And it was pretty cool. Like, it just pretty much like, oh my god, this game is now like 10 times better.
It's funny how, like, having the analogs has made such a huge change, and, like, I never would have thought when they first came out that I'd get used to them, because I felt that they were just but after all these years, I can't, it's hard for me to play without analog.
Oh, I know. It's like, I don't know how long it's been since you played like Tomb Raider or like Resident Evil games, like the PS1, but holy shit, they're fucking hard to turn around.
Oh yeah, well yeah, 'cause it was the point and go. Like it was hard back then. I think that's what kind of made those games even harder.
Yeah, I think that was the true survival horror to it. There was nothing scary to them other than the controls.
Especially when you got like Nemesis coming down on your ass and, oh god, I gotta turn.
Yeah. Or you'd round the corner, and some of those fixed camera angles were shitty because you'd round the corner, and then you'd be pushing one direction, and the camera angle would change. And that direction now pushes you back the other way, so you run back the other direction again. Yeah, that sucked.
Oh yeah. So, Bryant, what have you been up to besides, I mean, obviously, probably still a little bit of Destiny.
Yeah, still part of that glorious grind, man.
Well, not of late, but...
Yeah.
Well,
with the Christmas takedown by Lizard Squad.
I was able to get on for a couple of hours, intermittently each day, but I don't think everybody was as lucky, and I don't know, I think it was just because they were probably periodically just kind of checking to see, you know, oh, is it going to work, and, you know, Sony would flip a switch and turn it back on, and then they'd shut it back off again, or whatever, but, I am playing Destiny, Far Cry 4, Dragon Age, Inquisition.
Wow.
Still gotta finish Tomb Raider Definitive Edition again, since it's on PS4 and not PS3, and then playing the 14-day trial of Final Fantasy 14. So yeah.
Damn.
Got my and Metal Gear Solid. Ground Zeroes. So.
I was about to say which one, because...
Yeah, Ground Zeroes.
It sounds like you've got a pretty damn full plate there. I mean, now technically, I guess... Okay. Metal Gear, that's one that if you're not interested in doing everything you can do in that very short, prequel,
I heard you can do it in like 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but that's like, those are the guys that are like, they know everything, and I don't know. I mean, I like it. I like it for what it is, and it is fun no matter what, exploring. And, you know, this is essentially just a way to get used to the new controls, the new lighting. I mean, because the Metal Gear 5 is going to be such a huge change, even from Metal Gear 4.
Right.
Like, it's such a big difference, and that's one thing it's made it hard over the years to play the Metal Gear franchise, because it's like each game really changes in so many ways. I mean, and it's not a bad thing, but it's, you know, like even this last one for me, it was actually really hard. You know, because I feel like, oh yeah, there's no way that guy sees me, but then like, oh, well, he sees your shadow. It's like, what? How did you see my shadow?
I know, like, you know, you get up to near the end when you're doing that last rescue on there, and it was just like, this is just downright ridiculous. Like, I'm sitting there and I'm doing everything I can to be like all quiet and stealthy, and it's just like, I don't know if he's farting or something, but the guards are just all of a sudden on high alert. It's just like, God damn it, what the hell?
And doesn't help that Paz, I think is her name, is like constantly being a little bitch. You're like just wanting to take a clip and throw it at her face and knock her out.
Right.
Shut up! Jeez!
The first time I turned it on, I ran down that cliff, and you've got that watchtower right there. I tried to hide behind a rock. It didn't work. Yeah,
No.
within like the first 30 seconds of playing, I got caught. Motherfucker. Yeah. I was like, okay, that's how it's gonna be. So now I know exactly what to expect going forward. And then I tried.
You know what was shitty about that game too, though, is you ran down there and you're thinking, okay, well, I'll just kill these couple of guys, no big deal. And that's pretty much what I did. Was like, I'd sit there and kill a bunch of random people, thinking, oh, this will make my game easier. No, it just fucking pisses everybody off more.
Yeah, they just send. Yeah, then they start sending more and more and more in. I tried to go in guns blazing, just for the hell of it, and I mean, I got pretty far. I killed a shit ton of guys and did okay until I opened up a door and ran in there. And as soon as I opened up their door, there was like 3 Marines standing right there. They all just unloaded on me, and that was it didn't even take a second. They just all lit me up and killed me. So it was crazy. It was fun.
Very cool. Yes, and so how do you like Far Cry 4 so far?
Oh, game is addicting. It's fun. Played it for like, I don't know, probably a good 7 hours a day. I think I've got like 10 hours on there right now. About only like 25% of the way through. But it's fun. I was doing co-op with some people, and it was fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have to 100% agree. That game, wow. I have about 35 or 36 hours that I put into that game, and I mean, I'm at like 79%. I've beat the game. I have the plat for it, but it was so much fun that it's like, man, I can't wait to. So right now I'm letting my future father-in-law borrow it because he was, you know, heavily interested in the game. So I was like, well, you know, I got the platinum, you can play it, and you know. But when I get back, like, I want to actually go through and, you know, rip down all the posters and stuff, because that's really all I have left. I did, like, I liberated every outpost, every radio tower,
all the fortresses. And
oh yeah. Oh man.
Took down my first fortress like a couple hours ago. That was fun. That was a lot. I think we tried to go in stealthily, and we did okay. I think we had like 2 guys left to kill before we could get in there and just have the whole thing taken over. And one of them spotted us, and so then it was just an all-out battle to the point where I just pulled out my grenade launcher and I took out like 3 helicopters right before dying, to the point where I could crawl off of the ledge that I was on to the person that was below me so they could revive me and take out like the last helicopter and last couple of guys, and barely made it, but it was a challenge. It was fun.
You know what's interesting about those fortresses? Because okay, you have the 4, and I thought it was very interesting that I felt that from the first fortress that we took out to the last, they actually got a little bit easier as you went along.
Well, you unlock different skills, and then for your guns, you could sit there and pick out better ones and ones that you prefer. So
all you really need in that game, though, I swear, like I always had 3 guns, 3 specific weapons. That's all I needed. The grenade launcher.
Yep.
A really good sniper rifle with a scope and a silencer, and the bow.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for me it was the bow and arrow, the sniper. For the sidearm, I had the shotgun, and then I had an assault rifle.
I like the assault rifles here and there, but I don't know, just something about the bow, man. Like, that thing is just ridiculous. And if you have a really good sniper rifle, like, oh man, you can just take out anybody with a good headshot.
Right.
But yeah, oh man, we'll be talking about Far Cry again here in a little bit, but yeah, spoilers. Right. So I feel like an obvious topic for all of us is the fact that here we are, it's the end of December, we're going into the new year, and what better conversation piece than simply Game of the Year. Now, I'm sure you guys have seen, like, I mean, every like one of these gaming places has their own separate lists as far as what they feel are Game of the Years or their nominations. So, but I went ahead and I just went with IGN because everybody knows about IGN. And
what's IGN?
Fuck off. So instead of breaking down the individual categories, I want to just read their overall list of just best overall game. Now, I don't know how much of this you guys are going to agree with. I'm sure
this isn't like category specific, just overall game.
Overall game.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's actually a kind of eclectic mix of games. And so I wanted to talk about the list and then kind of get
list
and then hear from you guys, like what you felt is what you think a Game of the Year should be, and then what the Game of the Year for you is, if that makes any sense at all. So, alright, here we go. So we have Hearthstone, the Blizzard card game.
Nope.
Super Smash Brothers Wii U.
Nope.
Stick of Truth. Sunset Overdrive. Transistor. Dragon Age Inquisition. Child of Light. Shovel Knight. Shadow of Mordor, and Bayonetta 2.
Far Cry's not even on there?
Far Cry is not on the list.
That's funny. Disappointing.
Yeah.
I have to say that's kind of the reason why I think that this year was kind of a shitty year in gaming. I mean, a lot of those games were fun, so to speak, but none of them really just You know, like last year, 2013, we had games like Last of Us, Tomb Raider, and Bioshock Infinite. And for Game of the Year, like, there was just like, wow, man, there's so many good games.
There's some good contenders. Yeah.
And it's just like this year, I sit here and I look at this list and it's like, look, I mean, Child of Light is a fun game, sure, but once I beat it, it's like, I'm not gonna remember this game like 5 years from now and be like, holy shit, man, that Child of Light game, I tell you what, man.
Now, I do wonder how many of these games made the list because they're current. Like, for example, Dragon Age just came out, and I'm not gonna demean the game. I'm not saying it's bad,
Right.
but it's fresh, it's new. You know, how often do you think about the fact that Stick of Truth came out this year? Because it doesn't feel like it. It was in the first quarter. And so, you know, how many other games have came out in the year and it's like, okay, well, yeah, that was a really good game, but then you're like, oh, well, this is the current games. These are the current games that are out that everyone is like, whoa, this is good, you know, and you're kind of forgetting about those other ones.
Stick of Truth was also another. It was a pretty good game, but it's also, again, one of those games where after you play it once, you're just like, okay, well, I just did everything. What else is there for me to do on here? There's nothing to do. So it's just like, you know, it's sadly one of those games where you look at it on your shelf and you're like, I'm probably never gonna play that game again.
But there is no doubt you would agree that it was, for what it was, an extremely fun game. It was hilarious.
It was a fun game, but for me to pick like a game of the year, I want it to be something on scale with like Bioshock Infinite, where I beat the game and I am sitting there in my chair going, holy shit, that was badass.
And I agree. You want a game that can kind of stand the test of time. So
something you may want to play again too. I mean, replayability is definitely a measure of how good
because like let's think of it like this, okay? If you're gonna put it into like, if you're gonna have like a game of the year, you're basically putting it with all of your previous game of the years, which means that if you said Final Fantasy VI was your game of the year, that means you're gonna be putting South Park right next to it. It's like, no, man, hell no.
Okay. Yeah, and you're completely correct. You're completely correct. So then, let me ask the $1 million question. For you, what would you say is game of the year? What would you, of all the games that came out this year, what is game of the year? For
me, I would have to stare at the list for quite a while because I don't really think that many games had that overall, like, you know, appeal to them. Every game feels like it was overhyped or it was rushed out. Even though I'm a huge Borderlands fan, I played through the pre-sequel and it was just like, this was fun, but it feels off. Like, between 1 and 2, it's there, but it's not. You know, like when you sit there and you go to like McDonald's all the time, and then you go to the Burger King that one time, and you go to eat the cheeseburger. You're like, this is different. You know, that's what it was like. It was different. But then it's like Persona Q. Huge Persona fan. I've put in more than 500 hours just into 3. But I'm sitting here, I'm playing Persona Q, and it's like the story's not there. The characters that were in the previous games, their personalities are so distorted to sit there and meet like a Nintendo standard to be accepted into like younger kids can play the games, and it's just like, if the characters remain the same way as they were in the original games, oh yeah, I would have picked that for Game of the Year. But it's so off. Like, after I beat this game, I'm probably not going to be replaying it.
Yeah. So
I think that did they just try too hard? Did they change too much?
It was kind of like one of these ordeals where it's like you have your game and you have all of your characters, so then online you have everybody that sits here and takes like certain character traits and just kind of explodes with the ideas of them. Like, you have one character who is into athletic stuff. He likes to train for fights and all this other stuff. In Persona 3, there's a few times, like 2 or 3 times, where he's blatantly obsessed with protein. Well, in Persona Q, pretty much every line of dialogue he says is protein related. So it's kind of like, they sat there and were like, okay, well, we have to make this funny and we have to make this like, you know, younger audience appropriate. So let's just put in these jokes and repeat them a billion times because
They were
the
just
fans have
trying
said
too hard. Yeah.
Oh, it's to the point where it's like anytime they talk, you already know basically what's going to be said, and it's really sad. It'd be like if you go to play some sort of like Final Fantasy VII game where they take the characters and everything with Cloud was, hey, didn't you have amnesia?
Right.
And you're just like, okay, I get the point.
I get it. Yeah.
yeah,
And
that makes
like,
sense.
yeah, so I mean it's kind of a bummer. It's like, okay, so 2 of my favorite game series, they had new additions this year, but the developers just didn't make them like they were making them. You know?
So then I imagine if you're not able to pick a overall what is game of the year, you probably wouldn't be able to pick what personally for you what is your favorite game that you played this year?
I really can't say because it feels like rather than progressing forward with games, I see like a lot of the new ones as kind of like, here's what we could be doing, but we just haven't really went from there. Far Cry 4, you know, I know you guys were just talking about how awesome it is, but to be honest with you, it's just like Far Cry 3. So it's just like, yeah, Far Cry 3 is fucking awesome. Yeah, it was brilliant. I loved it. But Far Cry 4 is exactly the same thing, just pretty much a different, like, you know, paint job.
Right.
So it's just like, okay, well, it'd be kind of silly to sit there and say this is Game of the Year, even though it's the exact same thing, pretty much. So I don't really have like anything that has really jumped out that's new, you know. Instead, I'm so busy trying to think of older games that I'd really like to go back and play, especially with like PS2 era.
Right.
And because I have PlayStation TV, I really want to play PSP games.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. At least the one thing that'll be nice is next year we know we have a slew of games coming out. And, you know, I feel like, I mean, I'm biased, but I mean, I feel like next year I already know I'm going to pick Metal Gear, but you never know. You never know. It might come out and it might be disappointing, and I mean, not that it's ever happened, but you never know.
Well, I think next year will definitely be a really interesting year. I'm not going to say for sure because I know that Persona 5 is supposed to be coming out, and, you know, the biased part of me is like, right there is going to be my pick.
But then when you also look at,
but I know that there's going to be there's going to be, you know, Resident Evil HD, Resident Evil Revelations Part 2, There's going to be a couple of other different Vita games that are coming out that I've been keeping an eye out for. There's a lot of interesting titles, and funny enough, like, I'm keeping more of an eye out for Vita games more than PS4.
Well, I'm probably wrong with this, because I haven't really looked in it because I haven't had the system. Do we know that possibly the new Legend of Zelda is coming out next year, or is that going to be maybe a year after?
No, I'm pretty sure they said in that video, in the video that they released or whatever of them playing it during the conference, that it was set to release in 2015, but it will be after the new Star Fox. So you'll see Star Fox, and then you'll see what is still like the working title of The Legend of Zelda U.
Yeah.
So.
Because I feel like that as long as they do it right, that could probably be a contender next year.
I don't think it'll be as big, to be honest, because of the fact that I personally think that everybody that full-heartedly really wanted a Wii U has pretty much got one at this point. So it's like the people that would go get one now, they would be getting it because it's going down in price more than, like, oh yeah, I totally want a Wii U. I'm gonna spend $300 on it.
Well, I mean, it is circumstantial. I mean,
See,
it's like any new game system coming out, though. I mean, like for my fiance and I, we look at, okay, like we went to the store the other day and we're like, okay, like if we were to get a Wii U, what games would you want to get right off the bat? Like looking at the rack, and it was like, okay, we found like 7 games just right then and there. And I'm like, and these are used. It's not like, for example, they didn't have like Mario Kart in there. So it was like, okay, well, and it's nice too, because yeah, I mean, you're right, the price has gone down, enough where it's like, okay, well, it's at least more affordable. And for me, it was like, okay, well, I'd rather have a PS4 before any of the other systems.
Yeah. But what I'm saying though is that, like, Legend of Zelda, the people that would be on the ball with getting that and like full on, like, here's our money and like here's my left leg, those people already have a Wii U because they were probably wanting to play Hyrule Warriors and Wind Waker and all these other Nintendo titles. So like, I don't really think that Zelda U, if that's what it's gonna be called, is really gonna be the the game that takes down Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
Oh, by no means whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean,
I think he's just saying that it's would be a contender for Game of the Year next year if they did it right. Because regardless of how many people actually own the system or play it, if the game is that good, then it's that good.
But yeah, if you put out a game that is just that good, I mean, it would bring people, I feel, to the system. I mean, I would hope that if you're gonna buy a $300 system, you're gonna have more than one game that you're interested in, because otherwise you're just an idiot. But if they were to put out a quality Legend of Zelda, that I feel would boost some kind of sales.
The thing with Zelda though, like the Zelda franchise, like I like the early ones; those were pretty fun. I just personally feel as though like the Zelda games are just kind of cheap, like I feel as though sitting there, you have like Solid Snake who has like character to him, you have Cloud who has character to him, and like all these other games, they have character to them, and it's just like the Zelda games are just like, here's your guy, he wears a sock on his head, and goes around with a sword. He has to go save his chick and pick up some triangles and fairies, and that's not that thrilling to me.
Yeah, it's the same classic storyline, but they tried to adjust it, you know, like with the way that you have Young Link and Old Link and Dark Link, and then the way that they did with Majora's Mask, and you know, they just add certain dynamic to each game, so it makes it a little bit more entertaining. Yes, you've got the same characters.
It's the same basic idea.
Yeah, those are your staple characters, obviously.
But like
Zelda and Link,
for my opinion though, like anybody that compares like Legend of Zelda to the depth of like Metal Gear Solid, I would just probably facepalm and just walk away, just walk really far.
Well, anybody who's gonna try and compare, I mean, depth to Metal Gear, you're really asking for an argument, because Metal Gear is just that. That's a story. You've got years and years of story.
Two totally different things too.
Right. It's like comparing Mario to anything, because Mario it's always been the same game essentially. But the thing is they've done it right. You know, you don't have 30 years of franchise if you're doing it wrong.
But if we're gonna split hairs, then I mean, Final Fantasy is pretty much every Final Fantasy is just a rehash of the Final Fantasy before it. The character names might change a little bit, but there's always that.
But I feel as though that there's like a bit of like unfair attitude that's put towards other games outside of Zelda, and that's why I attack Zelda, because of the fact that, like, you know, I've heard a billion times over the years about Cloud's such an emo character, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, what about Link? Well, what about him? He's such a badass. It's like, he's a mute character. He doesn't have a personality.
And don't get me wrong, I do see what you mean, because you're right. Yeah, Link is, you know,
he's a boring character, like, because he's not a character. And I know, like, the whole argument and debate about Link is a representation of ourselves, and it's like, no, sorry, but what? No. And that's why I don't think it's fair that, like, you know, there's all that judgment to sit there and say, like, oh, Solid Snake's just some old fart veteran, and Cloud is an emo turd with Squall, and Sephiroth is a mommy's boy. And it's like, well, sorry, those characters actually are characters and have, like, story to them. Link is just a guy with a sock on his head and tights.
Well, again, I'm not biased. I don't attack Link, I don't attack Final Fantasy, I don't attack other characters like that, and I'm not biased to any of them, because, again, I wouldn't put them in the same category to begin with.
Oh, no.
You're going to have more depth to a story that's geared more toward adults than you are going to have. Zelda is supposed to not only be enjoyable for people and fans of the franchise who are older that want to play it, but it's also supposed to usher in newer and younger players into the franchise at the same time. So if they wanted to gear it toward the older crowd, they would have had it become a darker, more serious.
Well, yeah, they would have put in like blood and, you know, like really dark storylines.
Yeah, it's not, but it never has been that. And so, you know, I don't attack it because of that. I mean, if somebody wanted to, just like you said, if somebody wanted to compare the two, I would probably just
but see, like,
walk away.
That's
and be
the
like,
thing,
okay,
though, is like, because of the games that I like, you know, it's like, okay, well, if you're gonna bash on my games, then you better get ready for me to, you know, lunge back, you know,
right?
Because even though there's all the comments about Zelda, there's also, well, these are the reasons why Final Fantasy is the way Final Fantasy is.
People are just comparing apples with oranges, though.
Essentially.
I mean, it's like trying to take Destiny and take Dragon Age and try to put them in the same category and figure out which one is going to win an award for that particular category.
Right. Or, well, I mean,
it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's.
But that's what they would do for Game of the Year. They would sit there and
that's because it's Game of the Year. I mean, when you look at the Game of the Year list, you have like Hearthstone, which is a card game, going up against Child of Light, which is an RPG, going up against Sunset Overdrive, which is a sandbox. I mean, the Game of the Year is just Game of the Year. I mean, that's the reason why I go with my original statements being that if Zelda U essentially is made correctly, it could be a contender for Game of the Year.
It would be a contender just because what else is Nintendo even gonna do?
Well, who knows? I mean, they might push out another Mario game. I mean, it really is hard to say, you know, but I feel like maybe Nintendo does have, you know, something big going right now. I mean, they did put out Smash Brothers, which there's people like myself who have played each one of the Smash Brother games. That for me was kind of the icing on the cake. That was okay. I've thought about getting a Wii U, you know, but because there are games that, like, I do really enjoy Mario games for what they are, but it's like Super Smash Brothers is so much damn fun. And, you know, like, I have a son who is going to be getting more and more into gaming, and so games like, you know, the Mario games are perfect because that's what you and I played, or, you know, all of us played when we were kids. You know, it's simple, linear, point A to point B. So, wow, we got really off topic there.
Yeah, it's okay.
So, Bryant, I have to ask you then, same thing. What do you feel is Game of the Year?
For myself, personally, that's a really hard question. If you were basing it strictly on the amount of hours, the ungodly amount of hours that I have spent playing any one particular game, and you were to be like, oh, clearly this is his choice because he spent the most time on this, then it probably would have been Destiny. But
right.
Overall, am I pleased overall with the way that game turned out? Not at all. It's the game that you love to play, and then you hate it at the same time because playing Far Cry 4 and playing Dragon Age Inquisition, it's like, oh my god. Like,
it's kind of a strange poison, isn't it?
It's I'm reminded that the mechanics of Destiny are so solid and they're so fun, and what they've done with that game is still fun. It's still a great game to play, but don't play it. And like the rest of us that were on board a year plus before it was ever even released, we all thought it was going to be something that it didn't turn out to be.
Right.
So for people that are able to pick up the game and have never experienced the letdown that a lot of us did, they don't care. They play it and they love it, and they can continue to play it and continue to love it. But then the rest of us are like, God, like, if you guys actually would have done what you claimed you were doing. Like, I imagine Destiny now, and I play Far Cry 4, in the world of Far Cry and Kyrat, like, if each planet of Destiny would have been like the size of Kyrat, that is how it should have been.
That was how I imagined it was going to be.
So did I. Not only that, but you fucking, like, you are constantly blabbering on about, like, these MMO dynamics and, you know, the things that they're trying to put in, and then you limit people to 3-man fire teams, maximum of 6, and then in a server, you're only ever going to find a max of 15. and then you can barely interact with these people, and it's just something that people still miss. And I don't know, maybe if they make a Destiny 2, which they say they are, I don't think they're gonna get as much of a reception and a welcome as they got with the first one. People are gonna be a lot more leery about it, but
they really kind of have to go back to the drawing board and make sure that they are including what they're promising. Fix what's broken about the first game, and I feel like most people it is the storyline.
Well, yeah, it lacks story, it lacks anything to draw you in outside of the fact that it's fun to play. The only reason you continue to play it is it's fun to play, and you want to hit max level or get the new exotics or the loot grind, so to speak. Just draws you back in. And other than that, there isn't a whole lot of reason to play it. The co-op is awesome, but it would be that much better if they would have included more of it. Like, just any more of it. Like, let me get in a fire team of 15 people and run down onto a single planet that would be the size of Kyrat and take over a fortress or something.
Dude, that would be badass.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but it's, I don't know, they just, for whatever reason, didn't do it. Maybe I wonder if they intentionally screwed this one up so that way they could put it all into the next one and get people to buy it again.
Well, what would be just a fun game in general is just pretty much just a whole game of doing fortress takedowns. I think having that gameplay and that teamwork going on, it's stuff like that I sit there and I was thinking to myself, man, you could sit there and have groups of people sitting here and trying to be all quiet and try to take down this whole fortress, and shit goes down and it just goes fucking ballistic,
Right.
But instead, it's these games sit there and they have so few of them. Like Skyrim, they have I think it was 2 fortresses that you end up taking over, and it is probably my favorite part of the whole game. You go in there and you're just freaking swords are swinging everywhere, and you're just oh shit.
Well, and that was something that, when you and I were playing Far Cry 4, we just both completely agreed that doing the fortresses and hell, even the outposts, that was ridiculously fun. Being for us both okay, run up, okay, we're on the outskirts of this fortress here, and okay, scope in, see everybody that's in there. Oh shoot, okay, kind of study their patterns. All right, how do we take these dudes out? And that's the beauty of it, because there are different ways that you can do it. You can go in guns a-blazing, which isn't smart, but you can do it.
So fun.
Oh man, I like doing it all stealth. When I got to Pagan Min's fortress, I was able to take down the entire fortress with nobody even knowing I was there. It was pretty sweet, actually. Oh man, I just did this whole thing undetected.
Right.
So okay, that your answer for Destiny comes as a surprise to nobody.
Yeah.
But what would you say then, just overall, should be?
I got off topic.
Not really.
It should be Game of the Year. It's probably something that I haven't even played. To be honest.
Right.
I don't know. I've loved all the games that I've played, and I've played quite a bit, and just, I don't know, the past couple of months I've played quite a few and got so many different ones going on at the same time, but I'm really kind of stuck. It's if I were to say that there was one game that enjoyed playing and would pick back up again and plan on picking back up again in the future, I'd probably say The Last of Us. Like, I'll pick that game up over and over and over again. I'll play through The Last of Us many times because of the story, because of the gameplay. It's fun. It's like some people don't like the multiplayer. I like it. It's different than your standard first-person shooter. You've got crafting involved and different supplies. It's just more of a challenge, but it's, I don't know. I really did like The Last of Us, and I bought it when I bought my PS4 and played through it again after playing through it on the PS3 a couple of times. It's just it's a solid game, and that may not count as Game of the Year because it was Game of the year before like 200 times.
And because, I mean, it's technically a remaster.
Yeah, exactly. But it's God, like.
But I hear your plight, man. Trust me.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've loved what I've played in Dragon Age so far. It's so fun, and I can see why that right there. Like, if you really push me up against a wall, I'd probably say like, okay, it's either gonna be Far Cry 4 or Dragon Age because I've played them recently. They're both really, really fun, and they both satisfy me.
In all the ways.
Yeah. in every which way. So it's, that would be, telling me I had no other choice but to pick, one or the other. That would probably end up being, I'd probably just say Dragon Age.
Fair enough.
Because it is fun. It is a good game, and it's, I don't know if you guys have either of you guys have played it, but it is.
Not yet.
Yeah, it's fun, and I haven't played any of the other Dragon Ages, but I read kind of some of the backstory, and I don't know. I don't know why I never.
I tried the first one, and I couldn't get into it. I liked Morrigan. I wanted to keep playing because I want to know more of her storyline, but it was like I was trying to go into the woods and try to do my thing, and it was just like my freaking team would always just run in there and freaking like, no, hey, I still need to figure out if I want you guys to attack those enemies or if we should like run like hell, but instead it's like, oh, go around the curve in these woods and they're all running ahead. It's like, no!
I don't know how either of the previous ones were, but in this one the AI is rather smart. I mean, and you can change and adjust their tactics, their auto tactics. You can turn their tactics off.
Supposedly you can do the same for the first one, but I didn't know it because it's not like they really said anything during the gameplay.
Right. Oh, dude, for sure.
Here.
There's a lot in that game that I've just like found scrolling through the menu. I'm like, what the hell is this? Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said though, it's just like I'm sitting here and I'm walking through the woods, and all of a sudden I see like a fucking walking tree or something. And it's like, oh shit, that looks like it might kick my ass. I better turn around and my running to kill it.
You know, it's the incredible thing I've heard about the new Dragon Age. Is I've heard that you can essentially there's different zones in the game. I've heard that you could do like all of your leveling like in one zone or one or two zones, and
the hinterlands.
Yep, I think that's the one I heard specifically, and that they're like, you could easily put 100, 200 hours and not even come near to the full potential of the game, because of your decision making as you progress in the game. Like, yeah, you could have characters who die off, you could kill somebody, but then if you kill them, you might not get access to some area, another zone, and it's like, wow, like, it seems like it's one of those, like, okay, well, if you mess up your decisions here, you're not going to be able to see certain things, but then you just have these vastly different storylines otherwise.
But that's kind of what, like, Fallout is.
Well,
like,
even Skyrim, I mean, that's just how those games are.
Yeah, and I remember in Fallout, like, I sat there and, I'm all new to this and shit, and I remember I went to go talk to the medic, and he's wanting me to pay like this ridiculous amount of money to get healed. I got so mad, I pulled out a knife and I stabbed him. And I was like, take that, asshole. And I leave his medic, or I leave his little house, and it auto-saves when you exit or enter a door. Well, next thing I know, everybody in town is pissed off at me because I killed the medic. They're all trying to kill me. So,
Nice.
Well, that's what you get.
I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to turn off the game and I'll turn it right back on and that guy will come back to life. So, of course, I sit there and I turn back on the game and there's the sheriff like, "Hurr! God damn it."
Nice.
So the lesson from that story is never overcharge Liam for anything.
No.
Right.
He will stab you in the throat with a knife.
Hopefully you're not a medical practitioner either,
Yeah.
because he has a thing for them.
The sad thing is that I'm actually holding my knife at this moment, so I'm just going to put that. That's not.
Nice. So,
Yeah. I have heard that people spend like an average of 80 to 90 hours playing through Dragon Age just to complete the game, though. That's about the average of what people are spending to complete it. And I know people that have spent 90 hours on it and say that they're not even halfway through. So,
dude, and that's awesome.
yeah,
That means that you're getting your money's worth. Simple as that. You buy a $60 game, $70 game. Yeah, it'd be nice that you could say, well, you know what? I'm probably gonna put this many hours into it, and so I can justify the cost.
Actually, you want to know something that's really crazy? Is I have a friend out in Michigan who has put over 1,000 hours into just Fallout New Vegas.
Wow.
it's a
Yeah.
lot.
That's fucking hardcore.
Yeah.
I really probably need to check how many hours I've put into Destiny since.
Do they have a counter in there? I don't remember.
Yeah, they do. While we're
Yeah,
see,
she
I'm
had a screenshot for how many hours, because you know when somebody says that they've played one game that many hours, you're just like, come on.
Well, especially
And
if
sure
it's
enough-
outside of like World of Warcraft, and I mean, because I had 1,500 hours playing World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
so
I sat there and
so-
I was really skeptical, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, she's telling the truth. Damn.
somebody have a pen and paper in front of them. You want to write this down?
I do not.
Neither do
You
I.
have Notepad.
I don't want to chance moving anything on my computer. Okay, so before we started, like, actually this podcast, I'm not kidding, we probably spent a good 25 minutes trying to get Skype to work. And at the end, we all had to restart our computers and whatnot. And so, since I've started Skype again, I have not moved anything. I haven't even touched the mouse. But
Because you have diabetes.
let me go ahead and I have my phone here. Let's do some math here.
Wait. You just told me you didn't want to move anything so that way you can calculate for bribe, but all of a sudden you're like, let me whip out my phone now.
Well, that's not
Math.
touching my computer.
But still, you could have just said, wait, I'll just use my phone and add up Bry's hours.
Well, yeah, I just thought of it. So,
you're,
all right,
you're a scumbag.
all right. So, what do we got here?
Oh, listen to you. Now you're trying to change the topic. Scumbag.
19 days and 19, 9, and 21 additional hours. So 19 days and then add up what looks like another 2 more days, so like 21 days times 24.
You are looking at 480.
Bry's like, what have I been doing with
That's
my
not too
life?
bad. Game came out in September.
Nice.
Bry's
Yeah,
like, I need to
the-
reevaluate
Just
some
divide
things
the
now.
number of days. Divide the number of days the game has been out. since September 9th. Buy that, and that'll give you the average.
We'll just leave that
per
out. So, I guess I should go with mine. Okay. What do I feel should be game of the year? At the end of the day, I mean, and this really probably won't be a surprise anymore, but I would say that my vote for game of the year would be Far Cry 4. And that's probably because I haven't played Dragon Age, but Far Cry 4 it was so much fun to play, and I look forward to getting it back and playing it again. That's a game I could play like more than once. And I mean, for a big part of it being the outposts and the fortresses, because that was so much fun to do, I wouldn't mind doing it again. And
you gotta check out Far Cry 3, dude.
I have full intentions of picking up. There's actually a bundle I found that it's Far Cry 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. Well, no, it's I think it's 2, 3, and then Blood Dragon.
Oh, you know what? You're right. You're right. So I actually intend on picking that up.
I think 1 was just PC, wasn't it? 1 never hit consoles. Yeah.
1 was made to HD, and that's on PSN for like $10 or $15.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
and
not PS4 though, is it?
No.
but no, that'd be PS3. But I probably will still, because even that I might pick up, because it's just, it was so much fun, and it was, for me, it was a little bit different than the typical sandbox, like oh, well, go do this, go kill somebody. I don't know, something about Far Cry 4, like, even the...
It was like, honey badgers.
Oh, well, that was the one thing that pissed me off. Like, some of those honey badgers, like, I always thought that people would just joke about it, but no, those little bastards were annoying.
Yeah, dude.
What about
like
the
5 arrows?
The Kirot Fashion Week missions were interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
Because, like, especially there was the one where you had to kill the honey badger with an LMG. That one, I'm not kidding, man. That one took me about 9 tries, and I was getting pissed and I had to figure out a way to, like, because I found that with the spot that it was at, he would kind of glitch in one spot and just kind of sit there, and I could just unload on him. And so, yeah, that was the only way I could figure it out, because you had to kill him with the LMG.
The first time I encountered a honey badger, I was running through the woods, just kind of like hunting and farming and trying to level up toward the beginning of the game. And I see it, and I go, oh look, it's a little raccoon. So I turn, I'm like, it's either a raccoon or a skunk. So I just start shooting at it.
All of a sudden it hisses at you.
Yeah, dude, it doesn't die. Well, and then most of the animals run away. So I shoot at it again, it still doesn't die, and it turns at me, and it starts fucking, it sounds like it's foaming at the mouth. Going all rabid and fucking yeah. And all of a sudden it's like on top of you, just
yeah.
Shit out of you. Yeah.
Another one that was really hard too, though, was the Asian rhinos. Like, if you didn't have the right weapons on you, you're not taking one of those bastards down with a bow and arrow.
Well, yeah,
found
a fucking rhino, dude.
No, dude, I found an easy way to do it. Just get on top of an elephant.
Oh yeah, I know. That's what I figured out.
Yeah, I would just ride alongside of it and just sit there
Whip
and
it.
put like I'd hit like 20 arrows into it, so I would get the clean kill and get 2 rhino skins out of it, and then just jump down and get all. It's got like 20 arrows sticking out of the side of it.
Oh yeah.
Just jump down, pull them all out. It was funny.
Oh yeah. And I mean, just the only gripe I think I ever had with the game was with the animals. Like, I felt like, okay, I shouldn't have to shoot these animals this much to kill them, but the challenge, okay, I get it. So, but the storyline was really, really, really cool. Yeah, I will replay that game. There's no doubt about it. So that's why I'm saying that should be game of the year. But me personally, and I've had a lot of hard time with this one, because For me personally, my game of the year is the game that I put over 200 hours into, and that would be Diablo 3.
So basically, Bry's pick is an HD remaster. Yours is an HD remaster.
Well, no. You're not being fair here, because with Diablo 3, it was also the Reaper of Souls. Which there was a lot of extra stuff in there. So, I mean, I am excited to play that game.
The Last of Us came with the expansion, so that's good.
Well, and that's true. That's true. And the fact is,
but at that point, I could sit there and say, well, BioShock Infinite had its Game of the Year collection came out for PS3.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, with that, it's your personal. What game did you play this year that was your favorite game to play? And for me, yeah, it's just the fact that I put over 200 hours.
But is that But at that point, is it like a brand new, fresh game that we have to pick, or is it like, oh well, I played Mario Brothers 3.
I mean,
I played the dopest game of the year.
If you felt that you played Mario 3 this year, and that was your favorite game to play this year, because you're talking about a different style of game. I mean, I don't know.
I think a prerequisite to Game of the Year has to be it was released this year.
Right.
even if it was a remaster. Otherwise.
Well, Reaper of Souls for PS4 did come out this year.
Right. No, I know. You said if
I'm just giving you shit.
I mean, but even if you were to take that out, if that were a thing, okay, what game came out this year? Fresh game, because yes, Diablo 3 did not come out this year, the game itself. But if that were the case, I would probably go back and say, for me, that it was Far Cry 4.
Understandable.
Just because, how much fun the game was. But I mean, there was a lot of games that I put time into this year. Different games that, I mean, for example, Stick It to the Man came out it didn't even come out this year that I know of. Originally it was on Steam, but I played it this year, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well...
Indeed.
See, I'm looking at the list right now of games that came out this year, and it's like, wow, these came out this year. Kind of crazy. Like Bravely Default, it started off really fun and awesome, but then it was just like, okay, it's getting a little repetitive.
Yeah.
Now, while we're on the topic of games coming out, maybe Game of the Year, I think next year is going to be an insane year for games. I mean, like Liam was saying earlier, I mean, between his, Persona subsection, and you've got the whole Final Fantasy subsection, 2 different Final Fantasy games coming out. You've got The Division coming out, which is gonna, if anything, is gonna pull people away from Destiny and actually deliver on what they say it's gonna be. I think it'll be The Division. And then even early on in the year, like within the first couple of weeks, you've got Dying Light, which is gonna be an insanely fun game.
Well, yeah, like January, I already know that I'm gonna be busy with the Saints Row expansion that's coming out.
Nice.
Yeah, now I guess I'm curious, is there any particular field that you guys are hoping to see more progress with next year? For example, would you like to see maybe more games coming out for the Vita, or do you want to see just more RPGs come out, more what do you want to see happen?
Even though I really love RPGs and I put in my time for them, it's kind of fact of the matter is if you have one JRPG that comes out in say January, do you really want another one to come out in February? That's not going to be enough time to play it, So it's like I want JRPGs, but I don't want too many of them because that's too much to play all at once, you know?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Like I have a couple of JRPGs I'm looking at, like stuff that like probably nobody has freaking heard of, like a single detail about, but I'm looking forward to getting or checking out some of those a little bit more before they get released, because I'm not gonna buy every JRPG that comes out. I'm gonna be kind of picky with them. There's a couple of different action titles I'm wanting to get, like the Resident Evil games, and of course I want to pick up Dead or Alive.
Right. I want to get Dying Light, I think.
Dude, it's gonna be a good game.
I feel like that's
gonna be
going to be
fun.
one that if a bunch of us were to get it and actually play together, it could be a lot of fun.
It's 4-player co-op too, which is nice.
Yeah.
Instead of just 2, like I think that's the only thing that, if I had a gripe, the only gripe I found with Far Cry so far, because I don't, the animals, it's arcade style, you have to shoot them, shit ton, kill them, I get it. But I was disappointed that you only have 2 people. Like,
Yeah, it'd be cool if you could just have like a generic person, like, yeah, like just any.
I can
Piss
kind
hand.
of understand it just because like when you play with 2 people, they sit there and say that you can only go so far from the other person. Remember?
Yeah.
So
yeah, but
it's like they
with 3 or 4, you would just all stick together still. It's not hard to stay.
right. They
relatively
probably
close
just
to
thought
each other.
it would be like a bit of overkill. Like if you go to get into a vehicle and it's like, oh well, only 2 people can fit in here. You know?
Well, then
Or
you just
like-
have to choose your vehicle wisely.
Right.
A truck where either if you had 3, 2 in the front, 1 in the back. So yeah, but I don't know. I think that'd be the only thing. I like co-op and I love being able to play with other people, but just limiting me to one other person is kind of like, oh, that kind of sucks,
Yeah. You know what I would like to see come out, and we would agree that like having that kind of game, okay, where with Far Cry, with the outposts and stuff, we all agree that having a team do the outposts and stuff, that's a lot of fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, earlier this year, we also played another game that we felt was like awesome to play as a group, and that would be Payday 2.
Oh yeah.
I would like
Andy
to.
and I, we played that like freaking 2-3 days ago.
Yeah. I mean, I want to see another game like that. Maybe not exactly Payday, or yeah, I don't know, just something like that where you can have a team go like that and try to infiltrate an area and do something
Well,
big.
That sounds like The Division.
The problem to Payday is that to sneak into an area, it seemed way too complicated. As opposed to like when we're doing our when we're like scoping out the fortresses, you're on top of that one side of the fortress and I was on the other one. And we could sit there and we could look around and everything else. I thought that was pretty unique, whereas like Payday, it's just like, oh, well, as soon as you walk around the corner, they know that you're gonna steal from them. So high alert.
Right.
off the bat.
Right.
There was no like real sneaking to it. It just once you're there, once you stepped into the building, guy would look at you and it's like, you look suspicious.
Well, and that's and I've heard that with the new Metal Gear, they're talking about doing where you can infiltrate bases with Metal Gear Online. So I'm wondering if it'll kind
Yeah,
of be like
other
that.
people's bases and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of games are going to that. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, even The Division is to a certain extent. I just don't like the idea that they do it in some games that, okay, you build up, a fortress or whatever it is, a house, and you have some kind of establishment, and you're able to lock it. And so when you're away, it can't necessarily be tampered with. That's a good thing, I think, because you're gonna end up with a lot of people, I think, that invest time and money and effort into this game, and then somebody that maybe only played the game for a couple of weeks can come in when you're offline and bust into your stuff and steal everything you have and then take off. And that's freaking brutal. Like, I mean, it's life. It's legit, but I don't get off into torturing myself by having to go and redo everything all over again.
Well, especially it will suck too, because there's going to be some way that soon people will figure out a way to cheat in those kinds of games, so they'll be able to just come in and nuke all your guys like it's nothing.
Oh, yeah.
And that kind of sucks.
Yeah, somebody will come in and they'll have infinite life, and you'll just shoot them and shoot them and shoot them. And that like I said, it's a fun dynamic to games, but it's one that I haven't necessarily adapted to yet.
Right. Well,
in terms of
to have a game. I mean, and like I said, it's just the idea having a game that we could have the dynamics of teamwork to be able to infiltrate like Far Cry.
Well, yeah.
Well, even a game like Tenchu would be fun,
If you haven't looked it up or seen a whole lot of videos, look up The Division.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, man, that's exactly like there are established structures like town hall buildings or medical buildings or certain buildings in the area, and it shows this team, I think it was 3, and then a 4th came in kind of midway, and they go and they do exactly that, and they infiltrate this building, and mid infiltration, combating with PvE enemies, this other team of other players comes in, and then you're not only engaged in a PvE combat, but it immediately turns into a PvP combat. And so, like, in this open world, you're fighting over this territory, and it's with AI and other players, all in this one environment, and it looks crazy. It's hopefully everything that they.
Now, hopefully they have the ability to make it so it's you can shut off outside, opt out of having other players coming in, whereas
somebody had pointed it out to me, like there's a loot drop at one point in the game, and I don't know, you may or may not be able to, because in the demo or the video that they showed, the guy took the loot drop and the other guy responded to him, hey, let's get out of here before you lose that to these guys. So like they needed to leave. He's like, let's get back to, I think he said, let's get back to base or something like that. And so it's that same effect that you may be able to get, ransacked and get all your stuff stolen, because you're living in this hostile environment. And then it could allow for offline play, where you're just facing the PvE world. And Dying Light does that, where you have to opt. There's a thing called Be the Zombie. You can actually go and infiltrate other people's worlds as the zombie, and it's like a high-powered zombie that's really fast. Think like Dawn of the Dead, but you can jump and you're very limber as a zombie. But when it's happening to you, you opt in or out.
Yeah.
And so it's, I agree completely that should always be left available as an option, because not everybody wants to get their ass handed to them.
Yo, definitely. And it would be nice to have, like, where you can have friends come into your game, and then, your party of 3 or 4 can go and do these infiltrations, but then you don't have to worry about necessarily a PvP group, another, group of people coming in and jacking everything up. Instead, it's okay, well, it's just us 4 people, we closed out, so it's friends only, and so the rest is all going to be essentially PvE.
Oh, but how sick would it be to be the player killers and just camp outside of an establishment and let them do all the hard work of killing everything, and then just pop out at the very end and kill them and steal all their loot.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, people do that kind of stuff all the time, dude. That's just PvP. You know, you kind of have to be a dick. You know?
I would be that guy.
Fucking ninja zombie right there.
Dude, that's yeah. I mean, shoot.
I still have like high hopes to see like another Tenchu game where, you know, you can sit there and do all this online like co-op ninja missions and stuff like that. But I don't know, it seems like there's more of a interest in let's just put in a whole bunch of pew 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 stuff. Like,
Yeah.
all people want to do is just have explosions, which, you know, I do like explosions, but still.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bunch of Michael Bay movies.
Oh
It's
god.
just- yeah. So it's what a lot of games are nowadays. We just blow shit up and entertain you.
Oh yeah. So kind of switching gears here. I had something else that I feel like we've all had over the years, and I know currently we have one now, and so I kind of want to get her.
You sure you want to go into that? It's like already an hour and 22 minutes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
We don't have to, it doesn't have to be super long, so that's fine.
If they're still listening.
Right.
Yeah. Handhelds. We've all had them. We've all had Game Boys. We all have PS Vitas. No. I know that in the days of yesteryear, there was, I feel, a lot more out there. Now, granted, I know in places like Japan, handheld gaming is still very popular, but nowadays, I mean, when you look at the PlayStation Vita, I don't really see where there's any exclusive games that have made to the point where people are like, I need to have a Vita because of this game.
No.
Well,
and
it's,
that's not to say that it's a bad system, but
it's mostly like how you. It just depends on the games that you want to play. Like, if you want to have like the action games, why would you really want to play a high action game on a handheld system? You know, like,
right.
I feel as though that the Vita is definitely more of visual novel or RPG type of system.
Yeah, it's a casual gaming system. It's not something you want to sit down and play a fucking intensive multiplayer first-person
Right, like,
shooter game on.
Trying to find where the snipers are shooting at you, and you're just like, okay, I'm looking at my little screen. But even like I had the PlayStation TV, and so it does change a couple of things. But I mean, I still would prefer just playing, you know, casual RPG type of games on here.
Oh yeah, I mean, the games I even have on there right now are like little short games. Like I have like Treasures of Montezuma still. I'm gonna get that trophy. Some year I will get the trophy. I can officially say I'm a quarter way there. 25 hours.
I have no idea what that is, but
Dude, this game, okay, you have to have 100 hours of game time. And when I say game time, you're actually playing the game, not like in menus or anything. It's basically Candy Crush.
oh shit.
Yeah, each game is a minute long, and that's the counter that you use. You have to have 100 hours in this game to get a trophy, and that's the last trophy I need for the game. But
You just set the controller up with like a little dodo bird pecking the X button. Just go again.
right?
Just have it repeat.
I might as
Dude,
well.
I
But-
was so happy because I actually got my 100% for Resident Evil 4.
Nice.
I know.
Handhelds though. Sorry.
because I feel like at this point we've come to a time where handheld gaming, I mean, a lot of games are played simply on our mobile devices. You know, with games like Angry Birds.
I feel as though gaming on mobile devices is mostly just, you know, if you're pooping or if you're waiting for like your pizza to be done made.
But it's still considered gaming. You're still playing a game.
But I don't think it's like on par with sitting there and saying, you know, somebody that's like playing Pokemon versus I'm playing Line Rider while I'm taking a poop.
Yeah. So, but how many people have come into gaming because of playing games on like your phones? I mean,
Probably.
especially now because they do have like Final Fantasy games for mobile.
Yeah, but that's because that was mostly for the Japanese market, I think, because of the fact that like you have so many like business people that, you know, they're gonna be going off to all these meetings and be out traveling a lot, that they're probably not gonna be able to pack up their freaking Vita and PSPs.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I know that I'm not too fond of the mobile device gaming. It's just not. I can't do it.
Now, how do you feel about the current state of it? I mean, because as much as I personally like my Vita, I mean, I would say the system is basically, it's almost a flop.
I think it just depends on how you see it. Like, to me, I think the Wii U is a flop, but if you ask like a Nintendo enthusiast who loves Mario and Zelda games, they would probably be like, dude, you're drunk. Be like, okay, I guess I am.
Well,
But like with Vita, I mean, I have my PSP and PS1 games, so when I pop open my Vita, I have Persona 1, 2, 2.5, 3, and 4 all right there on one system.
yeah.
So I can play any of them wherever I go. But that aside, you know, I can play any of the Final Fantasy games that I want. I can play Suikoden 1 and 2. There's a couple of different Vita games that I have right now that I've been putting quite a bit of time into, but even with next year, I admit there's quite a big chunk of Vita games I'm really curious about.
Yeah, and I do want to see the system flourish and have a lot of stuff come to it because, yeah, it is, you know, it's not exactly cheap, and the capabilities that the system boasts, I mean, yeah, I have played, you know, some of my games, you know, on there from, you know, like I'll set it up and I'll come up to my room, like I've played Diablo on there. So it has the ability to play these games. And so I want to see it utilize that, and that would be awesome.
I think also the PlayStation TV helps also build up, you know, interest and curiosity, because like it's really cool to sit there and like I have the PlayStation TV hooked up and I have internet to there, and it's like all I have to do is put the city on there, and rather than playing on a little dinky screen, I can easily connect to a network, and it's like, bam, anybody that wants to play Dissidia with me, I can.
Yeah.
And I just think it makes it a lot easier than, you know, playing it on just the little screens for Vita or PSP, because playing a fighting game and now I have a full controller in my hands, it's just like, okay, now I'm ready to rock.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. So
I guess for me, the Vita, I got disconnected at one point and I had to hop back in, so I missed part of what you were saying, Josh. But I heard you mention the tail end there of using the remote play. originally I bought my Vita for the remote play. And, what have I think I've only got 2 games for it. No, I've got 3. But I mean, I get the freebies each month. But most recently got that Sword Art Online Hallowed Fragments game, and haven't played through it yet because I've got too many other games I'm playing. And
Right.
I think the hard thing about the portable gaming industry right now is, one, combating people. I'm not comfortable with gaming on my mobile phone either. I just don't like it. I've tried to download games. I even have, I'm sure is in my catalog or whatever of games I've downloaded. I downloaded Final Fantasy 1 for Android and played through it. I think I probably got maybe half or 3/4 of the way through it, and then just for whatever reason stopped playing it or whatever. It just wasn't convenient. But again, I think it's mostly a matter of convenience. If I'm at home, I'm not the type that I'm going to necessarily want to pick up a handheld and not pick up a controller and just play on a big TV, which is why I'm very interested in what Liam was saying in this PlayStation TV. I still haven't bought one, and kind of holding myself back, even though I want to go pick one up. And it's the idea of being able to, pop that game in and play on your PlayStation TV, and then turn around and take it with you on the go if you wanted to.
Yeah, I love it. Like I showed Kiki the Sonic Racing game originally on there, and I was like, look how awesome this looks. Like, this is supposed to be on the Vita screen. This is on my huge TV. And it looks so smooth and perfect.
Except they have like a certain amount of like buffering and smoothing that they do with the PlayStation TV.
It looks just as good as when you're looking at the Vita screen as it does on the TV. That's epic.
I think the resolution on a Vita screen is 1080 if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Yeah. So all you're doing is stretching the pixels out. And so the games are actually 1080. I mean, the only reason that the graphics aren't turned up even more is just because of the size of the game. I mean, you could take a PlayStation 4 game and port it to, like a PlayStation Vita game, but it's going to be freaking huge. It's going to be a 30 gig game, which would take up, one freaking $50 PlayStation Vita memory card.
Yeah.
You could play it on there. But that's not ideal for handheld gaming, obviously. You're going to want smaller games, and you're not going to notice the graphics as much because they are on a smaller screen, so they can get away with, cutting corners on textures and certain lighting and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But so when you actually stretch it out, it's not necessarily having to do a whole lot of work if you think about it, because it's already 1080 on your little screen. So all you're doing is pretty much just making the screen bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it has like smoothing or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure there's there's so much that they do to help upscale it.
Try to get rid of some of the rough edges that you wouldn't notice on a small screen. But it's definitely, I think a lot of people might be reluctant at first, thinking, oh god, it's going to be just this freaking blur. It's just gobby, nasty.
It looks pretty good. Even with like PSP, it's like with PSP games, notice like there is a little bit, but then again, when you think about what PSP's graphics were,
oh, absolutely,
yeah, it was not 1080. But Josh, I don't know if you know that. Speaking of remote play, another reason I want a PlayStation TV is you can remote play with a DualShock 4 off of the PlayStation TV through your PlayStation 4. So if you had it in a different room, somebody's watching TV on the television that the PlayStation 4 is hooked up in, you can just go to the room with the PlayStation TV and play in their remote play via the TV.
One,
I think that's rather than having to buy another PlayStation 4 to put in a different room in case somebody was using it or something, or not wanting to constantly unhook the system and move it. that's perfect.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and you're forgetting, like, probably the coolest thing about all of it is the fact that I could just as easy make sure, say I have a game that I really like in the system, I could just as easy go to your house with PlayStation TV and hook it up to your TV and the Wi-Fi, and we can access my system at home with this, little box the size of, what, a wallet?
Right.
Yeah.
And play all the games just as easy. That I think is what's really cool, because then you can, also, go to, I can go to my parents' house and I could be like, oh yeah, I really want to play my
Basically just
PS4
bring
games.
your PlayStation with you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, and like for someone like my dad who has a really nice TV, I could just do it like that too, and not having to constantly unhook a system, because that's not going to be good for a system to constantly plug, unplug. It's a hassle.
Yeah.
So, I think that the PlayStation TV is an amazing idea, and once I think I see some more of it, and I wouldn't be surprised if eventually I get one as well.
Yeah.
And plus, the biggest thing is being able to play the Vita games on my TV, because you can't beat the feel of a controller. Simple as that.
Well, with the PlayStation TV, like I was sitting there and I was telling a coworker, it's like, all I have to do is just load it up with all the games, like download everything, and I could bring this little device to work. We could hook it up to the TV and she could play Spyro. And of course she's all freaking fanatically happy about this, but then it's just like, except for the fact that I'm definitely not bringing my controller to work.
Right.
So, I mean, for stuff like that, it really is such a cool system, and it has a lot of capabilities, because you can sit there and have like all these PS1 games, PSP or Vita games, whatever, and you can bring this device, as long as you have that HDMI, a power cord, and a controller, you're good to go.
Yeah. Well, sweet. Well, it kind of... I just figured I'd see what you guys' opinions were with, mobile and, all that.
I'm still a little bit on the fence with, like, handheld games, just because of the fact that, when you sit there and you think about it, you're like, well, it is still a handheld game. I might not get as much from it, and blah, blah, blah. With the PS TV, it does help. Where I can sit there and I can play a game and I feel like I'm getting a full scale of it. But then it's like I go off to play my 3DS and it's just like, I really wish I could just play this on TV,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sweet, cool. Well, let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and close this up. And
is this where the Kafka music kicks in?
Kafka? No.
Isn't that what you usually close out with? I'm trying to remember what the outro music usually is.
No, I always use the Moogle theme song.
Oh, that's right.
So it usually depends on how far, because we start going like ha, then it's like, okay, I always wait for the last like 10 to 15 seconds before, I'm hitting X, and then that's where the music starts. Yeah,
Alright,
there's a method to the madness.
Awesome.
So, all right, well, cool then. Well, Bryant, we'll see you in a couple days, and
Indeed.
so, all right, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
See ya.